Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. Thank you guys so much for joining me in today's video. So as you guys can tell by the title of this video, I'm going to be showing you guys my flawless face foundation routine. Now my skin is definitely not perfect, even though my skin is clearing quite significantly. So I thought I would do an updated foundation routine and just sort of show you guys what I do on a daily basis with regards to like highlighting, contouring, all that jazz. So yeah, let's get into this video. So first things first, I'm gonna start off with my Kiki Beauty Makeup Ready Face Primer, and this is definitely my holy grail primer, and I've been using this for like months on end, and I think I've just about hit halfway. This stuff lasts forever. Now because I have ice pick scarring right in this area right here, I'm going to go in with a pore minimizing primer, and I'm going to be using my Maybelline Babyskin Instant Pore Eraser. Just taking a small amount on the tips of my fingers, like that much. And I'm just gonna smooth it into my nose and wherever I have ice pick scarring. Okay, so while my primers are sitting on my skin waiting for the foundation, I just thought I should disclaim to you guys that you don't have to use every single product that I'm using in this video or any other video for that matter. You can make whatever you have at home work for you. And I'm trying my best today to keep all the products that I'm using fairly affordable so that if you do want to go out and buy it, it's not that expensive. For foundation, I'm going to be going in with my Maybelline Superstay Full Coverage 24-Hour Foundation. This is in the shade 60 Caramel. As you guys can see, you can probably see from the bottle and my face that this is way too dark for me. But as a rule of thumb for myself personally, or anybody who has problematic skin or uneven skin tone, I suggest using a foundation that's just slightly darker than your actual skin tone. It just helps cover your pigmentation so much better, and it doesn't look gray in your uneven areas, if that makes sense. I don't know if you guys have like noticed, but if you use a foundation that's your exact skin tone shade, it turns gray like around the mouth area and certain darker areas of the face. It just happens that way. It doesn't matter whether the foundation is super full coverage or super light coverage. It always happens. So that's what I've noticed for me personally. That is why I always prefer to go in with a darker foundation. Okay, so I'm just gonna go ahead and squirt this right onto my face. Now to blend in my foundation, my holy grail foundation brush is the S19 Total Buffer Brush from Switch Beauty. I mean, we all want to invest in Sigma F80s, but those are really expensive. This is such an affordable brush. I think it's about 120 rand if I'm not mistaken, and it's really good. So if you guys are looking for a really nice flat top kabuki brush, I highly suggest this one. Now in terms of a technique when you're working the foundation into the skin, I like to use stippling motions. It doesn't matter whether I'm using a brush or a sponge. Stippling motions literally just keep the coverage. And also, if you do have dry skin and problematic skin, it doesn't sort of lift up the dry patches in your skin, because it can tend to look a little bit noticeable if you're like buffing, if that makes sense. Okay, so as you guys can see, I've achieved a pretty good full coverage using stippling motions, and obviously this foundation pretty much the job. But at this point, if you guys find you have any 5 o'clock shadow, any sort of pigmentation poking through, you can go in with a concealer that is your skin tone and just kind of spot conceal those areas, and you should be good to go. I have a pimple scab right here, so obviously nothing is gonna stick to it, unfortunately. Okay, so now moving on to concealer. My favorite concealers to use are the LA Girl Pro Concealers, and I specifically also like to mix it in with the Wet n Wild Photofocus Concealer. This is in the shade Medium Beige. Now you guys can see my face is looking a little bit darker than my body. You know, just a little bit. Okay, quite a bit. But it doesn't matter, because now we're going to go in and just highlight the center of the face. Now if you're using a foundation that's your exact skin tone shade, then you can go in with a concealer that is your shade or just like half a shade lighter. But I like to go in with a foundation, or a concealer rather, that's significantly lighter, just because I do have quite a dip in this area right here. So I like to bring this area forward, and that is why I use a very, very light concealer. But obviously, like I said, you guys can adjust my techniques to suit you guys. So taking the shade Medium Beige from my LA Girl Pro Concealer, and I'm just going to apply this concealer in like a triangular shape under my eye. So what I like to do with my concealer is go right from underneath the eye all the way past under the eye and going on the cheek as well, just to create a really nice blend and create a forward appearance under the eye, if it makes sense. So then I'm going to be taking the brush as well and just kind of drawing a little protea. Let's call it a protea, even though this is such a botched protea. And I'm just going to take this in between my brows, down the bridge of my nose. At this point, I don't have too much of product on my brush, and I'm literally going to stop halfway on my nose and then just highlight the tip of my nose. I find doing this just creates a less bulbous effect on my nose, because I would like to have an Amrezy nose, guys, but God just did not provide me with one of those, so I'm just gonna have to deal with what God gave me, okay? And then what I like to do is just take the concealer on my upper lip as well. Being a woman of color, you can tend to get a 5 o'clock shadow, and I really like to brighten up this area just to kind of get rid of that dark shadow vibe. And then I'm also going to take some on my chin. I just think that it looks really nice when you have a highlighted under eye area and a bright center of the face, because it just makes everything look uniform, if that makes sense. And then going in with my Wet n Wild Photofocus concealer in the shade Medium Peach, and I'm just gonna put a little bit of this just over the areas that I put down the LA Girl, just to improve the coverage slightly. And then I'm going to be going in with a Discam Beauty Blending Sponge. This has already been wet. And I'm going to start at my chin. So I like the concealer under my eyes to dry out just a little bit, because I find that the coverage is a lot more intense. So I'm going to blend my under eye area last. And I kind of learned this trick from Jackie Aina. And it works, you guys. It really works. And then going in with my under eye area, I'm going to start blending the cheek area, and then I kind of go into the under eye area, if that makes sense. So now it's time to set the face, and for me personally, I find that the best technique that works for me is just setting where I need to set. So I would generally set under my eyes, in my T-zone area, my upper lip, corners of my mouth, and my chin, generally because that is where my foundation will tend to move throughout the day, because I do get very oily and very shiny, and I do have creases in my face that are just not cute. So yeah, I'm gonna go in with my Yardley Absolute Translucent Powder. I'm running so low on this, you guys. It's actually like really sad. And the way I like to set is I just take a dry sponge and I just pick up some of the powder and I just bake the under eye area. You don't have to heavily bake. I literally just take the powder on the sponge, press it under the eye, go back and forth a few times. If I am going to do my foundation first and then do eyeshadow, I will put a significant amount of powder under the eyes, just because if eyeshadow does fall out, it's easier to dust away. And then taking more powder and just putting this in the center of my face. And I'm also just going to put it right on my expression line. I'm wearing a high pony today, so you guys can't see my expression line, but I do have a very significant expression line right across here, and I'm just going to press this in, and then just doing my upper lip and corners of my mouth. Now I obviously prefer to bake because this is a technique that works for me and works for preventing creasing and all that jazz. But obviously if you guys are not all about that baking life, then you can use a fluffy powder brush and just powder the areas where you need to. Now moving on to the next part of the face routine. Now this is bronzing. Now for me, bronzing is a very crucial step in my everyday routine, and it might not be the same for everyone, let's be honest. But for me, bronzing really just brings back some dimension back into my face, especially because I just muted out all my natural color in my skin with a full coverage foundation. I'm going to be taking a fluffy brush and I'm going to be using my Benefit Hoola bronzer. This is honestly my holy grail. So the areas that I'm bronzing are literally like my chin area, my cheeks, my forehead. I want my foundation to blend seamlessly into my hairline. And I'm going to lightly take some on my nose as well. Okay, so now that I've bronzed the skin, I'm going to go in with a powder brush and just dust away any excess powder that is on the skin from us baking. Now I honestly really like the way my bronzed skin looks, and unless I'm going for a very dramatic look, then I will go in with contour powder and just chisel on my cheeks and all that jazz, but I'm going to skip that step today. So if you guys want to know what product I would use to contour my face, it is the LA Girl pressed powder. This is the high definition matte pressed powder in the shade Cocoa, and this is literally like the darkest in the range. And this is pretty much what I use. Now again, on a daily basis, I don't really use blush, but for the purpose of this video, I am going to be using blush. So I'm going into my Dupe Factorie 9B blush palette, and I'm going to be taking a very sort of natural matte tone blush, which is this one right here, and picking up just a little bit on a blush brush, and I'm just going to apply that onto my cheeks. And if I am going for minimal eye and lips, then I definitely will add a pop of blush, because it just, you know, adds a bit of color to your face without overdoing it. Now for highlight today, I'm going to be using my LA Girl Strobe Light Strobing Powder, and this is in the shade 50 Watt. This is such a beautiful champagne-y color, and I'm going to be taking it on a big eye blending brush. This one's from Essence. And I'm just going to be highlighting the tops of my cheeks, tip of my nose ever so slightly, lightly on the bridge of my nose as well, my cupid's bow, my chin. And I also just really like to take my highlight right above my brow bone. I kind of really like that glow that it gives your face. And this is pretty much it for my face routine. I'm gonna go ahead, finish off the rest of my makeup, and I'll be back to put on some setting spray. So for setting the face, I'm gonna go in with my Makeup Ready Cool Citrus Setting Spray from Kiki Beauty. Just spraying a light spritz. And this is just gonna ensure that the skin looks like skin, and it's just gonna melt all those powders on the face together. So that is pretty much it for this flawless face routine. I really hope you guys have enjoyed this video, and thank you guys so much for watching. If you guys like these sort of back to basics videos, I'm kind of updating my playlist because it has been a while since I've done like a foundation routine and like eyebrow routines and stuff. So if you guys are enjoying it, comment down below, let me know, and I'll keep them coming. Thank you guys so much for watching. Don't forget to slay all day every day with or without makeup, and I'll talk to you guys in my next video. Bye.